Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I am Melody Wilding. If we haven't met yet, I'm a professor of human behavior, an executive coach, and the author of a book called Trust Yourself. Stop overthinking and channel your emotions for success at work. If you have read the book, let me know in the chat. I always love to hear from you. And I am also the creator of a program called Resilient, a first of its kind 3-month group coaching program to help sensitive high achievers regain their confidence, master their emotions, and reach their full potential at work. And for almost 4 years now, I have been running Resilient, and I have seen it absolutely transform the lives of our alumni. Whether it's getting skip level promotions, 6-figure bonuses, being named 40 under 40 in their field, all amazing things. But what's even more incredible and more meaningful is their inner transformations. And our alumni say they notice, the people in their lives notice how much happier, lighter, more optimistic they've become. Resilient is the only leadership program of its kind because it's specifically tailored to you as a sensitive striver, someone who is driven and thinks and feels everything more deeply. Because as a sensitive striver, you are wired differently. And that means you need a specialized approach, one that's grounded in neuroscience, communication, leadership, management theory, human behavior research. And at the heart of Resilient are what our alumni call our life-changing weekly coaching calls, where you get direct access to me, my coaching team, to help you tackle workplace challenges, whether that's speaking up, articulating your viewpoint, dealing with difficult personalities, creating strategies to help you reach your goals, whether that's a promotion, a salary raise, more impact, influence, navigating setbacks like rejection and imposter syndrome. And it's a really exciting time here because Resilience starts 1 week from today, literally 1 week from today. So if you are interested, there is a QR code here on the screen. The spots are filling up. We are so excited to have so many amazing sensitive strivers joining us. We do have a few spots left. Enrollment is open now, but it closes on Tuesday. And the program starts next week, literally 1 week from today. So open your phone, go to your camera app, and you, with the QR code, can be brought right to a link to learn all about the program, to secure your spot, and to sign up for a free consult call with me. No pressure, no sales pitch, just us talking about any questions you have and whether the program's the right fit for you right now. This is the final round of this program this year. So if you want more confidence, more inner peace, more success without so much stress, then definitely check out that QR code now. You can also head to melodywilding.com/resilient. So I see so many of you are joining me here live. Thank you for being here in the chat. Say hello. Let me know where you are watching from today. Hey, Carla, Zakia, our Irene, Jennifer, Kimberly. Great to have you. And Carla was saying you had me at difficult personalities and imposter syndrome. Yes. Kimberly, great to have you here. So say hello in the chat if you're joining live. If you're catching this on replay, say replay. I love to be able to shout you out wherever you're in the world watching this from. And speaking of all of that, of dealing with challenges high achievers face, today we are going to dive into a topic that I think is going to resonate with many of you. The unseen barriers that high achievers often unknowingly hit, and how to get out of your own way. So before I go any further on this topic of high achievement, I want to speak directly to those of you who may have joined today, who have a hint of skepticism, who might be thinking, well, this is about mistakes high achievers make, but I'm not even sure I qualify as a high achiever to begin with. How many of you relate to that? That you're even not sure if you relate to being a high achiever to begin with? Type me in the chat. And let me say hello to some more of you joining. Let's see. Mahmood, great to have you. Sienna, Jenny, Rupali in India, thank you for staying up with us. Sophie, Lara, Sanjay, Angela, great to have you. Ed, Janice, excellent. So, how many of you relate to that doubt of whether you're even a high achiever to begin with? Type me in the chat if you can relate to this. I mention this because this is something I hear all the time from people who say, I know I'm highly sensitive. I know I think and feel everything deeply. But Melody, to be honest with you, I don't think I'm a high achiever. I don't think I am so much on the striver side. So I want to challenge that thought and unpack it for just a second before we dive in. And first off, is who says what a high achiever looks like? Is it a certain job title, certain accolades, or is it a mindset? And from my years of experience, I've been doing this work now for over 11 years. I can affirmatively tell you that being a high achiever is less about external validations and much more about your character, your inner drive, your ambition, your commitment to your growth and development. High achieving isn't just about results. It's about your level of resilience, effort, your pursuit of being better and better and better every day. Who can get behind that definition of high achievement? Type +1 in the chat if that resonates with you more deeply. And listen, I totally get these doubts. And many of you, thank you for sharing. Those of you who are saying, yeah, I'm not totally sure if I identify with the high achiever label. I totally get it. There is that sneaky voice in the back of your head whispering, you're not good enough. You're out of your league here. And that pops up for so many of us. Imposter syndrome is a huge party crasher for sure. But I want to really drive home for you. If you have dreams, ambitions, aspirations, if you have the grit to strive for more, then you are absolutely a high achiever in my eyes. If you aspire to be better every day, to grow, to be making a meaningful impact, you are a high achiever in my book. So, with that said, I hope that lets many of you know you are in the right place today. Whether you are a self proclaimed high achiever or you're just coming around to the idea of accepting this new definition. Wherever you are, today's conversation is for you. So, I want you to stick around. And I want to bust some of the biggest myths and set you on a clear path so that you can get out of your own way. You can be the best version of yourself. And I want to set the stage for this conversation with the reality that many high achievers have to come to terms with, often the hard way. I actually gave a free webinar on Monday earlier this week all about the idea of self-promotion. And one of the key mindset shifts I offered in that webinar was there is a tipping point where hard work is no longer enough. That the relentless grind and effort that led to your initial success starts to not return the same results. Who has been there? Who's been there? Type me in the chat if you have been there before, where you get to this tipping point where you realize hard work is no longer enough. Your effort doesn't start to yield the same results it used to. And I want you to think about this as scaling a series of mountains, that the skills and the gear that helped you conquer maybe the first peak may not be enough when you get to the second and higher peaks. That as the altitude increases, the game, the skills, the gear you need has to change as well. The climb becomes more complex. It requires a different strategy, mindset, a different set of tools. And the same is very true in your career. that often the strategies that got you here will not get you there. And I see a lot of you are relating to that. Yes. Tracy, Jason, good to see you. Angela, Rupali, Kimberly, Janice. And that brings me to another truth, one that I have observed time and time again in all the years I've been doing this, that very often the external obstacles or lack of technical skills are not the thing that really hinder our progress. Instead, often the biggest thing that hinders our progress is the person staring back at us in the mirror. We get in our own way. We hold ourselves back, whether it's the self-doubt in the back of our head, the persistent drive to over-perfect everything, the inability to delegate because we fear losing control, insecurities, deeply ingrained behaviors. All of this comes down to changing our own mindset and being able to manage our thoughts, our emotions, our energy more effectively. These are all internal factors. And if they are unchecked, they really do have a scary power to undermine even the most talented among us. But there is a silver lining here, that just as these challenges may often be self-created, they can also be self-addressed. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. That during my journey as a coach, particularly in our coaching program, Resilient, I've seen brilliant people grapple with some of these same challenges. These are common patterns I see recur again and again and again, regardless of a person's industry, their seniority. And trust me, recognizing them today, you just even being here is going to give you a competitive edge. So I want you to all give yourself a pat on the back for joining today. We're going to spotlight some of the most frequent missteps to ensure you don't keep falling into these same pitfalls. Because I think all of you are here because you might agree with this, that you believe in proactively learning. If you can sidestep some of these mistakes, you can save not only time, but also a lot of heartache and frustration and the feelings of stuckness that come along with them. So, to everyone here, I want you to know that this session and what I'm going to talk about today is not meant to critique, but what I'm hoping to do today is to empower you, to give you insights and some ahas to help you get on the path to making changes. Because I've seen these mindset shifts and these realizations really transform the people I've coached, the people we work with inside of Resilience. And I firmly believe that with a little bit of guidance and introspection, you can also get out of your own way. All right, sound good? Give me a +1 in the chat if that sounds good to you all. And if you are just joining us, welcome. Please say hello in the chat. I'm just about to dive into our biggest mistakes that sabotage high achiever success and how you can avoid them. And again, this is what we talk a lot about, giving you more tools and lots of practical strategies to overcome these mistakes is exactly the work we do inside of my 3-month group coaching program, Resilient. The program starts 1 week from today and enrollment closes on Tuesday. So if you've been on the fence, if you are at all interested, this is the final round of this year. There's a QR code on the screen. You can also head to melodywilding.com/resilient. All right, Sienna, Lara, Amber, Rupali, excellent. Let's go. So I also want to say before I dive in, I'm going to be throwing a lot at you. So please, please help me out, help your neighbors out by typing what stands out to you the most in the chat. The first mistake I see high achievers make is saying yes too much in order to be a team player. I'm going to say that again. The first mistake I see high achievers make is saying yes too much in order to be a team player. And I'm betting many of you have fallen into this trap at one point or another. How many times have you found yourself overbooked, overstretched, or overwhelmed because you've said yes one too many times. And you know what I'm talking about. You agree to take on yet another project, mentor yet another intern, volunteer for yet another committee, all because you fear that saying no might make you appear less than committed, might make you look like you're not a team player. The underlying concern that I hear from sensitive strivers is if I say no, will I be perceived as not being committed and dedicated? Will it come off as laziness or an unwillingness to step up and pitch in? High achievers, by your very nature, often feel a need to constantly prove our worth. Like we have to constantly be showcasing our dedication and validate that we have earned a spot at the table. So, this almost instinctual, automatic habit of saying yes to everything, it becomes our default, even at the expense of our own well being or our quality of work. And I see it all the time. My clients are often told, you haven't been given a promotion because you don't seem to know how to prioritize or how to make tough trade offs. It feels like a sucker punch when you get that feedback. And believe it or not, this is a very, very common scenario. I hear this all the time. I've had a significant number of clients in Resilient join precisely because they've been given this feedback that we can't give you more responsibility. You can't advance because we see, number one, you already have too much on your plate. How could we possibly give you more? You don't know how to prioritize. You don't know how to make strategic trade offs. And they're bewildered. They're shocked because they're thinking, but I've done everything. I've gone above and beyond. I've taken on every project. I've worked so many late nights. I've said yes to everything. And that therein lies the issue. That on the surface, it may seem that by always agreeing, by always taking on more, you're displaying commitment and ambition. And some of the time that's true. But there's a flip side to this coin. And Rupali was saying it led me to burnout. Exactly. That in an attempt to be everything to everyone, you may inadvertently portray that you have a lack of judgment and decision-making skills. So I want you to think about it. If you are always in the weeds, always juggling 50 things at once, can you truly give strategic insights? Can you make high-level decisions? Can you really discern between what's urgent and what's important? Okay. Yes, Jason was saying, +1, yes, one boss has always said, belly up to the bar. And Namindra was saying, I learned this after going through many a difficult stretch. Absolutely. Yes, Jennifer has a great tip. And she said, I've learned not to answer right away and say, let me check my calendar and get back to you. Excellent. Yeah, we're going to talk about more about that in just a second. So thank you, Jennifer. So I want to reframe this for a second. Saying no isn't about refusing to contribute. I'm not at all advocating that you dodge responsibility. Quite the opposite. I want you to strategically prioritize and to understand your capacity, the bandwidth of you and your team, and the real-time implications of when you say yes to something. Because when you say no, you're actually making a very powerful statement. You're saying, I want to give my best to what I've already committed to. And if I say yes to this, I won't be able to do that. By strategically declining requests, certain opportunities, you're not only safeguarding the quality of your current responsibilities, but you're showcasing you have judgment. And that is a clear indication to leadership that you're thinking bigger picture, you're committed to the success of the overall mission, not just your own personal advancement. So let's imagine for 1 second, just play along with me for a second, that your manager drops by and asks if you could lead yet another project. Your plate is already overflowing. And instead of immediately saying, yes, sure, I can take that on, you say, I'm really committed to making sure that my current project delivers an outstanding result, and taking on this new project might affect that. Can we talk about how to redistribute my tasks? Let's try that again. Can we talk about how we might redistribute my tasks, or perhaps consider another person for this role? So notice how this isn't a flat out rejection. It's a nuanced, more considered response that communicates dedication, a commitment to quality. You're not shirking your responsibilities, you're prioritizing for the greatest good. Okay. Says, what happens when it backfires, the wrong company? Angela, that's a complex answer. Why it backfires could be down to a lot of things. It could be down to the way your message is delivered, for example, or as you say, if despite all of your best efforts, your pushback, your ability to negotiate your responsibilities, then yeah, you are left with making a bigger decision about whether this is the right place for you to be. So while the instinct to always say yes, I know that for so many of you, that comes from a good place. It comes from wanting to contribute, to be seen as reliable, and to prove your worth. It's really essential you recognize that the greater value is in strategically prioritizing, not always saying no, but saying no to the right things. And that doesn't make you any less of a team player. It shows you're advocating for everyone's success. So the next time you are faced with an opportunity or a request, I want you to pause and I want you to remember that sometimes the most impactful thing you can do is give a strategic no. All right, that brings us to mistake number 2. And somebody help me out by typing this in the chat. That many high achievers focus on making themselves indispensable in their roles. So that's mistake number 2. Many high achievers focus on making themselves indispensable in their roles. Every organization has that one person, the go-to subject matter expert, the one who holds all of the institutional knowledge. It feels great to be that person sometimes. You're always in the loop, you're always needed. It can give you a sense of perceived security, because if you're indispensable, it means you have job security, right? You have respect, you have opportunities. But that's not always the truth, because there's a twist here that in the drive to make yourself indispensable, you might be creating your own professional ceiling, your own barrier to upward mobility. Because when you become the singular point of reference, or the only person who can manage specific tasks or a specific area, you create a silo. You become so entwined in your role that imagining someone else in your shoes becomes not only impossible for you to see, but for the organization to imagine as well. And again, this can seem flattering initially, that you're so valued, you're the only one who could do your job. But in the long run, it's a bottleneck. So I want you to consider this scenario now, that there are higher ups who recognize your talents. They believe you are ripe for advancement, more responsibilities, greater impact, greater scope. But without a successor who can take over your current duties, they're hesitant, because promoting you might jeopardize the efficiency of your current role. Who are they going to get to fill your shoes? Now, true leadership isn't about holding all of the cards and hoarding all the knowledge. It's about creating an environment where responsibilities, skills are shared and they are duplicated. Leaders cultivate other leaders. So if you are someone who is aiming to go to higher levels in your career, then making yourself indispensable is not the strategy you want to adopt. So instead, consider the power of mentorship, delegation, training up, upskilling others. When you share what you know, when you empower your team members, you're not diluting your own value, you're multiplying it. You're creating an environment where growth, both your own personal growth and the organization's growth, is not just possible, but it's more likely and inevitable. Now, again, I don't want to say that you should be making yourself redundant. That would be silly. So that's not what I'm saying here. But the goal is to transition from being indispensable to invaluable. That might seem like semantics, but there's an important difference here. An indispensable person is someone that the organization can't function without in a specific role. An invaluable person, on the other hand, is someone whose skills, leadership, insights are sought after regardless of the role they are in. That's because they are adaptable, they're visionaries, they're team players, they're able to mobilize people around them. So if you have found yourself in this indispensability trap, I want you to start looking around you and really start thinking seriously about who your potential successor could be and to invest in that person's growth. So that not only ensures continuity, but it also shows leadership on your part. And it's a testament to your ability to be forward thinking, to see beyond your individual role. And by fostering the talent of the people around you, you're emphasizing that you are not just a team player, you are a multiplier. That's an important shift, to not just be a team player, to be a multiplier. Because being irreplaceable in a specific role can feel safe, but it's a safety that often has a ceiling. It often comes at a cost. Okay, let's see how this is resonating with all of you. Yes, Sienna was saying they can't promote you if they need to do their own jobs. Yes, exactly. Jason was saying the glass ceiling, 100%. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and Tracy was saying becoming a subject matter expert organically, but I stand out by creating my own succession plan. Yes, Tracy, you nailed it. Yes. Yeah. All right, excellent. Okay. So far we've talked about our first two mistakes, saying yes to everything and making yourself indispensable in your role. Let's go on to our third mistake that high achievers make, which is sitting out workplace politics. Someone help me by typing that in the chat. Sitting out workplace politics. Now, I know that the mere mention of workplace politics is enough to make some of you want to close out this live right now. You may be doing a heavy eye roll, side eye at me. And many high achievers who really value authenticity, integrity, sincerity, they make the pivotal mistake of sitting out workplace politics entirely. Really, really common for sensitive strivers to tell me, I'm allergic to workplace politics. I don't play those silly games. I just want to get my work done. And on the surface, this may seem noble or smart, but I want to dive a bit deeper to understand the implications. So first, and Tracy gave me a puke face. I love it. So first, I want to demystify terms because workplace politics can be, but it isn't only about being underhanded, slimy, sleazy tactics or power plays. That is a part of workplace politics, and that's workplace politics, frankly, done really poorly. And unfortunately, that's how most people do it. But at its core, workplace politics done well is about understanding the dynamics, the relationships, the power structures within an organization, basically making the invisible visible. And it's about grasping who makes the decisions, how those decisions are made, who the influencers are, and how to navigate these intricacies for both your own personal goals and the organizational goals. So by choosing to sit out workplace politics, you may be making a few risky moves. First, a lack of visibility. If you're not involved, if people don't know who you are, you're often invisible. You might be doing really great work, But if it's not recognized, it's not known or understood by those who are in positions of influence, you might not go very far. It can also lead to misalignment with the organization's goals because politics, like it or not, often shape the direction of where our company is going. If you are disconnected from these dynamics, you might find your projects or your work is misaligned from where the company is heading. And third is the risk of isolation. Relationships are your greatest currency. They are the lifeblood of any organization. Work is about people, and people have relationships. So steering clear of politics can make you seem disinterested, aloof, not engaged, which can all make you more isolated. Now, here's where many people go wrong. They equate engaging in workplace politics with manipulation. But again, workplace politics done well, that couldn't be further from the truth. Engaging means being an active participant, understanding the dynamics, and positioning yourself to make meaningful contributions. So there are many skills wrapped up in this, though: influence, persuasion, negotiation. And none of that is about bending others to your will to get them to do what you want. Really, at the core of a lot of those skills is emotional intelligence, empathy, understanding people's varying perspectives, finding common ground, creating win win scenarios. Those are the exact tools that you, as a sensitive person, can wield with more authenticity and genuine intent. And to do it with the goal of building deeper connections and mutual respect. So by engaging in workplace politics, you get a clearer picture of what drives your colleagues, your superiors. And that understanding can make all of your work more effective, more harmonious, frankly. It also helps you build trust because as you build relationships, as you demonstrate reliability, integrity over time, that builds trust, that builds relational capital. And it helps you create advocates. When you are a proactive participant in the workplace dynamics that are going on around you, you're more easily able to find mentors, advocates, people who are willing to vouch for your capabilities, to mention your name in a room of opportunities, even when you're not there. Okay, let me see what all of you are saying here. Okay. Jennifer was saying, I work for state government. They take office politics to a new level. Yes, that is micro and macro in your case, Jennifer. Let's see. Sophie was saying, it's also quite arrogant to think you don't have to play the games. Absolutely. I am a huge believer that you have to play the game to be able to change the game. If you just sit it out, how could you possibly influence the environment for the better? And so I think if all of us want to be allies for creating more psychologically safe, healthy, more inclusive workplaces, then we have a responsibility to understand the dynamics around us, to build relationships so that we have power to be able to change the systems that we work in. Okay. And Sienna said, visibility is scary though. How are people perceiving me? Yeah, this was a lot of what we talked about on Monday's webinar. If you would like the replay for that, send me a message. I'm happy to send you the replay for Monday's self-promotion webinar. We talked a lot about visibility, changing your mindset around that, and a lot of great tips for amping up your visibility in the workplace. So, okay. Let's see here. All right. I want to go on to our fourth and final mistake that high achievers make, which is not celebrating small wins. So that is our fourth and final mistake, not celebrating small wins. For high achievers, our pace is often very relentless. We're climbing one mountain after another, only to find a bigger one waiting for us. And that determination to always be moving, always be improving, that's commendable. It's that forward motion, that momentum that, again, can lead to an oversight that we make, that we neglect celebrating the small wins. Because for us, there's always a next milestone, there's always another goal, there's always more we could be doing. And we may perceive our accomplishments as just one small stepping stone to the next thing. And in doing so, we miss out on the incredibly, immensely valuable joy and confidence and happiness that can be found in savoring the journey. And that drive, again, it's often what propels us to great heights, but it can also be our Achilles heel. Because when you are constantly glossing over small achievements, the little victories, it can lead to a surprising result. We see this all the time inside of resilience, and that is a lack of confidence. And it sounds very counterintuitive that shouldn't someone who's always accomplishing things, wouldn't they be super confident? But that's not the case. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that personally. By not pausing to recognize and internalize the small successes, you rob yourself of positive reinforcement. Always focusing on the next big thing, not acknowledging your small victories, can lead to feelings of inadequacy. Like it's never enough. And the narrative in your head may become less about what you've already achieved and more about what's still left to do, what wasn't enough. We have a relentless focus on the gap rather than the gain. And that can lead to these feelings of inadequacy and insecurity. So, celebrating wins is a huge, huge part of our culture inside of Resilient. And again, if you are interested in the program, we start 1 week from today. So your time is running out to register for the final round of this year. The QR code is here on the screen. So you could open your phone, go to your camera app, take a photo. It'll bring you right to the page with more details and where you can book a call with me. And the link is here on the screen, melodywilding.com/resilient. And we have been really, really intentional about building the culture inside of Resilient because we know how powerful celebrating the little successes is. Because scientifically, there's a lot that happens in your brain when you take just a few moments to recognize your achievements, no matter how small they are. Your brain releases dopamine when you celebrate wins. And that is a neurotransmitter, a chemical in your brain that's associated with pleasure and reward. So it feels good, but it also encourages you to do more of that behavior. So, in essence, when you give yourself a pat on the back, you're conditioning your brain to associate hard work and persistence with positive outcomes. And again, you reinforce positive behavior. So when you take the time to recognize your achievements, you reinforce the behaviors that led to those results. And over time, that can strengthen good habits, your discipline. It makes it more likely you'll be able to replicate that success in the future. And it builds resilience. There's a reason the program is called Resilience, because when we recognize small victories, it reminds us, it helps us internalize our capabilities and our strengths. And in challenging times, having that reservoir of positive self belief really helps you navigate setbacks because you believe, you know what, I can handle whatever comes at me. And again, I want to be clear here in nuance. Celebrating your wins doesn't mean becoming lazy, losing your edge, being big headed and conceited. All I'm saying is to take a moment to acknowledge, to reflect, and draw energy and inspiration from what you've done. That's all. And integrating that practice, if you are a high achiever, is really, really transformative. It could be as simple as just taking 5 minutes at the end of the day to jot down a few things that went well, or maybe you have a monthly ritual where you look back on the progress you made. Whatever it is, building that loop of positivity and encouragement is really critical to think about building into your routine. All right. Colleen was saying, this is a fantastic presentation. Colleen, I'm so glad you are enjoying it. I would love to hear your takeaways from today. What stood out to you the most? What did you find useful, insightful? Let me know in the chat. Okay. All right. So I want to recap the top 4 mistakes I see high achievers make that sabotage them and how to avoid them. Mistake number 1, saying yes all the time. Mistake number 2, being indispensable in your role. Mistake number 3, sitting out workplace politics. And mistake number 4, not celebrating small wins. Now, in today's fast paced, very highly competitive work world, avoiding these pitfalls, I hope you are taking this home today. These are not just a recommendation, these are a necessity for your success and your well being. So, as we have been talking through these patterns together, I hope you've recognized or it's helped you with your own self awareness from your own journey. Where can you relate to saying yes too much, feeling too tied to a role because you've made yourself indispensable? Where have you been opting out of workplace politics or relentlessly pushing yourself forward without pausing to celebrate? Yeah. Jason was saying office politics. Jennifer was saying mistake number 2, being indispensable in your role, hit me hard. Sienna was saying, I guess the bottom line for me is work is an ecosystem, and both the office and your role has to be in balance. That is a great way to put it. Tracy was saying, I just added a note in my daily end of day Outlook task at work to recognize small wins. This was the most impactful tip. Excellent. Colleen also resonated with the idea of making yourself indispensable. Yes. Yes. Amazing. Rupali, I'm so glad it was helpful to you. Angela was saying mistake number 3, transition from indispensable to invaluable. Your skills, leadership, insight are sought after regardless of your role. Yes. Excellent. Perfect. So recognizing these patterns is just the beginning. The real transformation happens when you put them into action. So, Tracy, I love that you added something to your calendar to start to take what you're learning here, this information, and put it into practice. Because the real transformation happens when you have tools, guidance, support to make meaningful change a reality. If you are someone who is thinking, this sounds really tough for me to be able to do on my own, or I'm afraid I'm going to fall back into old patterns very easily. If you're someone who is thinking you would like more accountability, more tools, more guidance, that's where Resilient comes in. So that is our 3-month group coaching program for sensitive strivers. So why should you navigate these challenges alone when you can have a highly actionable, action-oriented curriculum, weekly coaching from me, access to the collective wisdom and support of a like-minded community of other sensitive strivers? And in Resilient, we go way beyond just identifying these issues. We provide you with tangible, practical tools to help you build new habits. We offer weekly coaching to guide you in implementing them and navigating setbacks and roadblocks. And we have a community of powerful, sensitive strivers who, just like you, are committed to overcoming these pitfalls and can offer advice and insight from their own perspective about what's worked for them too. So this is really, again, we've been very careful and thoughtful about crafting a unique blend of resources so that you just don't understand what's holding you back, but you can actively move forward and leave some of these roadblocks behind you. So if you are ready to not only pinpoint, but to also conquer the roadblocks to your success, I want to invite you to join us inside of Resilient. We start exactly 1 week from today. We start next Thursday, and time is running out to grab your spot. This is the final round of 2023. So head to that QR code here on the screen. All you need to do is open your phone, head to the camera app, and that will bring up a link to go right to the page with more information. You also have the opportunity to book a free time to chat with me, no strings, no pressure, just us talking about your goals and whether the program is right for you. That is all for today, everyone. Keep sharing your takeaways in the chat. I love to hear them. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see many of you inside of Resilient very soon. Take care, everyone.